I don't have any thought experiments, but let me start a quote from Harvey Weinstein. So for some of your listeners who may not know who Harvey Weinstein is, he was a Hollywood mogul. He made a bunch of movies. He was CEO, I think founder of a company called Miramax that made tons of famous movies. And about 3 years ago, he started to be accused of some pretty horrible things by dozens of women. And he was quiet for a while, really horrible allegations of some pretty bad stuff. And then he released a statement, and I want to read to you that statement. So he began his statement by saying, he expressed remorse for things that had happened, saying he came of age in the 60s and 70s when all of the rules about behavior and workplaces were different. He said he respects all women and regrets what happened, but what's interesting for our purposes is the following. Here's what he says. I'm going to need a place to channel my anger. So I've decided I'm going to give the National Rifle Association my full attention. I hope Wayne LaPierre, who's the CEO of the National Rifle Association, I hope Wayne LaPierre will enjoy his retirement party. I'm making a movie about our president. So this is President Trump. Perhaps we can make it a joint retirement party. 1 year ago, I began organizing a $5 million foundation to give scholarships to women directors at the University of Southern California. While this might seem coincidental, it has been in the works for a year. It will be named after my mom, and I won't disappoint her. So clearly, what Harvey Weinstein is up to in this press statement is he's dangling his commitments to certain progressive causes, dangling commitments to promoting women in front of us to try to distract us or to make us think that he's actually a good person. And his comments were universally panned from across the political aisle. I mean, I don't think anyone was impressed by what Harvey Weinstein was trying to get us to think about him. But this is an interesting case because here we have someone who's clearly trying to convince us that he's a morally decent or morally good person in the face of these really horrible accusations. And my co-author and I, Justin Tosi, we have this book called Standing, and we opened the book in a way talking about this case because here we have a case in which someone is using their discussion of morality or politics to try to show off how good they are. And now, obviously, lots of cases aren't as big of failures as Harvey Weinstein's, but his case points to a more general phenomenon, which is basically the use of moral talk for self-promotion. People who engage in talk on social media, Facebook, Twitter, people on cable news, politicians in stump speeches, using talk of morality, using talk of politics as a vanity project, trying to get people to think well of them, to think highly of them. And so we wrote this book, Grandstanding, not really to pick on Harvey Weinstein, but as it turns out, it's actually very difficult to give a clear case of moral grandstanding that's uncontroversial for reasons we can talk about. But what we think, the Harvey Weinstein case is a pretty obvious example of someone who's trying to use these discussions of morality and politics, making fun of Trump, the NRA to try to convince people that he's a good person.